Today, we ask the question, why won't this number 293 Pacific steam engine work? We answer that and more on Austin's American Flyer YouTube page. When I put the engine on the test track, the only thing that I could get it to do was get a little activity from the E-unit. And so, aside from that, I had no idea what was wrong. And so the only conclusion I could come to was, well, we need to take this thing apart. Check for loose wires or anything else very obvious that might be going on. Because this is a later model, the tender and engine had wires running through them. There was no jack, no plugs. And so I really did have to take everything apart to check the wiring connections and the solder joints and make sure there was good connectivity all the way around. And one thing was quite interesting is I took the engine apart. And that was, it seemed to be in really good shape in terms of real clean. I didn't see anything that would cause concern, like a discolored field, copper that was dark. The copper still looked shiny, and I didn't see anything broken except for a part of the bake light on the back of the commutator that was non-essential. And when I took the armature out here, it was very, very clean. Didn't have really any scoring on it to begin with, so I just polished it up a little bit more, put some lubrication on it, and put that back in its place. And then while I was at it, I went ahead and polished up all of the electrical connections, because I thought, well, if this engine's been sitting around for as long as I suspect, it could be just dirty enough that it's inhibiting the proper power to get from point A to point B. So that's what you see me doing here, polishing everything up as good as I can, cleaning things and restoring that sheen. Again, here is yet another view of the armature, and you can see how very pretty it is. I've not seen any other armatures in such good shape, so that gave me courage that hopefully a good cleaning job would yield some good results. I also noticed that the brushes that pulled out of the engine were long. Again, showing that there was very little runtime on this engine. And so aside from the fact that things were just a little bit tarnished, a little bit dirty, everything looked really good on the engine components. So there's still more to come. It's going to be worthwhile sticking around. So this is just going to take a few moments, but I need to do this promotional thing. See, I've got this T-shirt, and it is awesome, and you may recognize the logo. And there's a link at the bottom of the comments below this video if you want to go there. And on this Teespring website, you're going to find different kinds of merch. There'll be different types of t-shirts and tank tops and sweatshirts, mugs, cell phone covers, leggings, bags. It just goes on and on and on. So for that special someone in your life, please don't forget about this option. And every purchase that you make helps support this website. And that would be really great. Some other things about the shirt is it'll make you smarter. It'll make you look better.
It'll help you be more successful. And my personal favorite is its slimming and trimming. So if any of those things are of interest to you, please consider self-improvement. Just trying to be helpful. All right, on with the show.
So after putting the motor back together, I went ahead and turned my attention to the E-unit. And on further inspection of the drum, I could see that it looked like there was some tarnish there, some dirt, and so I tried to put a little alcohol on a Q-tip and try and clean the drum, and it just wasn't working. And I also was curious about the state of affairs of the fingers, and so I very carefully removed the fingers, both sets, and then gently pried things apart to get the drum out, and put that over my polishing wheel and cleaned that up real nice. And fortunately, there was no damage to the drum. There was no real grooves or anything in the copper, plastic. Everything about it looked great other than the dirt, and so it cleaned up very, very nicely. And after cleaning that up, I put things back together in the reverse order. And as I looked at the fingers, I noticed that they were not pitted. They looked to be in very good shape. The only thing I did was add a little bit more tension to them, so that they pushed on the drum a little bit harder than maybe they were, because again, over time, those fingers can maybe lose a little bit of contact with the drum, and then that'll be enough to keep the engine from moving. So as I moved back through the engine and then the E-unit, I was just, any little tweak I could think of, I was adjusting just to see if it would work. I applied power once I had it back together, and voila, things came to life. So that was very encouraging. Now the final step was to finish putting everything back together and putting it on the track and see what happens. So this was kind of neat. Discovered that this engine had a stamp of 1955 inside, and that was significant. That just means it's one of the newer steam engines that I have in my roster, and so that, along with the other signs I saw where it just had very little runtime, helped me think, well, this thing's gonna be a pretty good operator, pretty good runner. So I was anxious to give that a try as soon as I could get everything back together. One thing I like to do when putting side rods back together is to put just a tiny dab of lightweight grease, but it just helps reduce wear on the side rods. And since I'm interested in things lasting as long as possible, then friction is not our friend. After everything's back together, this engine had been sitting out for years and years and was very dusty. So a damp cloth, and it cleaned up rather nicely. Interesting side note, the gentleman I bought this engine from placed it on a test track at his home, and when it didn't respond, he picked the engine and tender up a few inches off the table and slammed them forcefully back down on the table, and exclaimed, "This is my engine. If I want to break it, I can." And I'm pretty sure that's why there was a broken piece of bakelite at the back of the motor.
So for those of you that are still here, still with me, I've got a special treat for you. This 293, it is just amazing at chuffing and smoking. I don't have any engines in my steam fleet that come close to what this thing does. It is just amazing.